Berserk Chapter 364 was just published last week, and this was the very last chapter Kentaro Miura, the author of Berserk, worked on. So before saying anything else, let's thank Mr. Kentaro Miura for giving us this wonderful series, for producing this wonderful world within Berserk, and giving us amazing characters like Guts and Casca, and a brilliant villain like Griffith. You, sir, Mr. Kentaro Miura, are a bona fide legend. Berserk to me is not only one of the best manga series ever written, it is also one of the best pieces of stories I have ever consumed in any medium. Be it movies, be it TV series, be it a manga, be it a book, be it an anime. Berserk, I would put it on that pedestal. I'd put it alongside the best pieces of entertainment, the best pieces of stories I've ever read or watched. And to be brutally honest, I haven't been a fan for that long. I just caught up to the Berserk manga 2 years ago, and I have been reading since it was coming out, I think bi-monthly. So one chapter was coming out every 2 months. So I've only been reading the Berserk serialization for 2 years. But the series had made such an impact on me that it was already part of my life. I was eagerly waiting for the next Berserk chapter as soon as I finished reading the latest one. And wow, oh wow, what a last chapter of Berserk we got. If it is the last chapter of Berserk, Berserk Chapter 364 is the best way to end the series in my opinion. Of course, I would like to have Kentaro Miura worked on it and finish the series, but since he cannot do it anymore, I think this is the best case scenario where we see Griffith appearing in the last panel of the chapter, and we finally see Casca, Guts and Griffith at the same time in the same place. Now that is presuming that the boy, Guts and Casca's child, is indeed Griffith. So here's my theory, here's what happened. Throughout the Berserk series, we see Griffith constantly struggling to come to terms with himself. He's constantly struggling with himself. So much so that it seems that there are two sides to Griffith, the good side and the bad side. He might have a split personality as far as we know. So what happened was, when the eclipse took place, when the entire events of eclipse happened, what I think happened was Griffith's entire being separated into two, the good side of him and the dark side of him. The dark side of him became the vessel to Femto, one of the god hands, and the good side of him might have been, I don't know, like absorbed by Guts and Casca's child so it could stay alive. And looking back at it, I think that's why Casca wanted to save the child when Guts was trying to kill it, because not only it was Guts and Casca's child, but she could feel the presence of Griffith inside of it. So that's my theory, that's my tinfoil hat theory. Maybe it will be confirmed if Berserk continues and Miura's assistants take over. We don't know what's the future of the Berserk series, but as of right now, what we can do is celebrate Berserk for the masterpiece it is. Celebrate Berserk for what it has given us, one of the best fantasy, dark fantasy stories I have ever read, and probably you have ever read or watched. Let's celebrate that. Let's celebrate what Kentaro Miura has given in 364 chapters of Berserk, and let's remember him for the genius writer and illustrator he was while working on Berserk. When somebody comes up to you and says, why should I read Berserk? What is so special about Berserk? You should just say, the world that Kentaro Miura has built, including the devils, the demons, the elves, the themes that he has portrayed. One of my favorite themes of Berserk is the entire clash between free will versus fate or destiny. Guts being somebody who is fated to struggle, somebody who is destined to live a rough life but is constantly struggling through it, constantly trying to overcome it. That's just beautiful. The world Miura has created, the themes he has portrayed, is just secondary to the characters that he has filled the world with. Guts to me is one of the best manga protagonists out there, one of the best protagonists in general that I've ever seen. His constant struggle, fighting his fate, fighting his destiny. The man, when you first see him, appears to be this big angry swordsman with this big chunk of iron with him, but deep down when you read the story, you get to see how tortured of a soul he is, how his anger is just a means to escape whatever he has dealt with in his life. Casca is a character who is constantly struggling, choosing between Guts and Griffith. Griffith is the guy who she admires, who saved her basically, and Guts is the guy who she loves. And finally Griffith. Griffith, one of the best antagonists I have ever seen, and whom I would say I would like Guts to just break him apart, like get his big black sword and just shove it up his you know what. That's how much I hate Griffith. But he's a great character, not gonna lie. I know chasing after his dreams does not excuse Griffith from whatever he did to his brethren, the Band of the Hawks, whatever he did to Guts, the horrible thing he did to Casca. But there is some part of Griffith that you can still admire, even though he's a sadistic villain, even though he's a sadistic antagonist, and I would like to see Guts tear him apart, mind you. But there is some trait in Griffith that you can actually appreciate, and that is chasing after his dreams. First of all, dreaming and then chasing after his dreams. A majority of us can only dream and never try to fulfill it. So weirdly, sadistically, Miura made Griffith in such a way that we can actually relate to him, and that is just brilliant. So if someone asks you what is special about Berserk, just tell them these things, and even after that they don't agree on reading it, just tell them to read the damn thing and guarantee them that this series will influence them one way or another in their life. Berserk 364 is in the bag, and we don't know the future of the series. Even if it continues or even if it doesn't, we can be assured that Berserk's place as one of the best manga in history is already set in stone, and we thank Kentaro Miura for this wonderful piece of art. Well, that's it guys, that's the end of the video. This is Whipster Ratings. Until next time.